Hey everyone, my name is Larisa Love, Joico Global Brand Ambassador. Welcome to Joico Education on Demand, your online source for salon education 24/7. Today I'm going to showcase my high-low fusion foiling technique that gives an amazing contrast but with a seamless blend. I was inspired by the new millennial fashion in the early 2000s, where the higher the contrast of the color, the more trendier the hair looked. And now that trend is back. The end result will be a high contrast tone with a seamless blend that is extremely wearable and fresh, and that will complement this mod shag haircut. I always prep all of my clients with Joico Defy Damage Pro Series 1. This product is extremely easy to use. You're gonna start in the back in the lower nape, taking horizontal sections. You're gonna shake the can vigorously, and you're gonna spray 2 to 3 inches away from the hair in short bursts all the way down. If the hair is a little bit more compromised, you can spray a little bit more for that extra protection. The amazing benefits of this product is that you don't have to change your developer, you don't have to adjust your formula or your timing. All you do is spray and go and start with any application service. Also, it makes the hair 5 times stronger. It reduces 80% breakage, and it gives 90% of color vibrancy. Now talk about an amazing bond builder. I'm also gonna be lifting her hair, so Defy Damage is gonna help me with the lift and also even deposit. After you spray, you're going to just comb through for even distribution, and you can automatically see that gorgeous shine in the hair. And it's a dry spray, so you don't have to wait for it to dry to start your application. You can start your application right away. Once we get to the front, it's all about the experience of the client. You're gonna want to make sure that you take diagonal forward sections, so that way everything is away from the base. So I'm gonna be sectioning her into 4 quadrants, and then I'm gonna section out the triangle, the fringe area. So I'm gonna take a center part all the way down towards the nape. I always say clean sections equals clean results. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna pivot your comb at the top crown, and where it pivots is where you're gonna take it from ear to ear. So taking less sections, which will also obviously have faster application time, means you can take in more clients and make more money, because time is what? Time is money. Or you can go home and relax and have an earlier day off. All right, so you're gonna do the exact same thing on the opposite side, from the back of the crown to the ear. All right, then you're gonna just go ahead and bring the section down the center, all the way down to the nape again, and section these 2 out. And then lastly, you're gonna section out the fringe. Depending on the thickness of the fringe, it could be 2 inches towards the back, 3 inches. With her, it's about 2 inches, and just gonna section that out and just simply clip away. So let's get started. I'm really loving buttery golden copper tones, apricot tones. I think they're super trendy and they add extreme shine to the hair. And so I want to add that into Jessica's hair. I want her to have that dimensional high contrast look intertwining with all of these beautiful warm hues. So I'm gonna be starting off with Blonde Life Powder Lightener. We're gonna be using a 1.5 scoops, and we're gonna start off with 10 Developer. Here's a really good tip. Most hair is compromised in the front. Why? Because we touch our hair the most, we style it the most with thermal tools, so we're always really focusing in the front, and that's why it gets a little bit more damaged. So this is why I like to approach it in a different direction with my lightening. I always start my lightening service in the front with a lower developer, so that way I have a much more gentle approach. So let's get started. I'm gonna be starting at the front triangle section. I'm gonna be splitting her fringe in half down the center, and I'm going to go ahead and take a diagonal back section. When you take diagonal sections, the hair will fall much more softly and blended with the natural fall of the hair. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take a zigzag section Flick that out of the way. And then you could see my zigzags are right here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and take that as my highlight and foil it. I am using Joico Blonde Life Lightener. It gives 9+ lifts. It's extremely gentle to the hair and has exotic oils that will maintain moisture and keep the integrity of the hair as it's lifting. Whenever I'm finishing my balayage highlight, I always go ahead and go against the grain of the hair, closer to the root, for a much softer blend. As you move your way up, you're gonna keep taking diagonal back sections. I would say about 3/4 inch of a section, and do the exact same zigzag pattern all the way through. Keep moving all the way up until you have no more hair to work with. Always make sure that you double or triple fold because you don't want any foils in the client's face. Again, that's going back to the experience of the client. When you're taking highlights at the fringe, make sure that they're not too chunky because you want it to still have that soft blend and not that stripy effect. And like I mentioned before, taking diagonal back sections will have the highlights lay much more seamless because they're gonna fall much more natural with the shape of the head. And last tip that I will give when you are lightening the fringe is always leave some hair out so that way some of this hair can fall over the highlight and give it that softer feel. And then just repeat on the opposite side. All right, and voila. Again, always make sure that all the foils and all the hair is away from the face because it's all going back to the experience of the client. We are so oversaturated with so many amazing artists on social media. So what is it gonna make you different from the rest? And it is from the full experience, not only from the transformation that you're gonna create, but the full experience from the start to the finish. All right, so then you can choose whatever side you wanna start on. And I'm gonna go ahead and start on her right side. So I'm gonna be upping my developer by 5. And the reason being is because I like everything to be lifted nice and even. So instead of jumping from 10 to 20, I like to go to 10, 15, 20, 25. So that way everything is lifted nice and evenly at the same time. That way you don't have to wait and the client doesn't have to wait for the last section that you did for it to be completed. All right, so now I'm gonna move my way up to 15 developer. And you're gonna take a diagonal back section about 1 inch. And then just go ahead and move everything away from the section. So what I also love about having chopsticks is that you don't have to utilize clips every single time. You literally just throw it over on the other side and this chopstick will hold it for you, which also will save a lot of time in the long run. So depending on how dimensional or how bright you want the client to be, it really depends on the thickness of your sections. So if you want the client to have more depth and dimension, take thicker sections. If you want the client to be more brighter, take thinner sections because then you'll be foiling more and you'll be adding much more highlights to the hair. So the more you dig in with your zigzag section, the more you're gonna be creating that high contrast look that I'm going for. So see how deep I went in? And I'm gonna take that full highlight, and this is gonna be my highlight. So it's gonna have that high contrast tones between the highlight and the low light. Another great tip is I like to tease the hair. What goes up must come down. So the more you tease, the more the color will fall lower. So I like to tease more towards the back center of the hair and then less towards the front. So that way I have more brightness around the hairline and more depth and dimension towards the back. So you're not relying on a shadow root to create that beautiful blend. You have a beautiful technique that you created that has a blend on its own. Always be sure that when you're teasing, you tease all the way to the root and never apply lightener on the teased area. I always like to go a little bit higher with my lightener around the face, and as I move towards the back, I don't go as high, so it gives me that shadow root blended effect. I'm gonna keep moving up in diagonal back sections, and with every single section, I'm gonna create an extra zigzag. What this will do, this will create that contrast that I want, but it's gonna create that softness and blend throughout the whole hair. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 zigzags because I only did 1 zigzag on my bottom section. So now the difference between a weave and a zigzag is that this will give me a higher contrast look, because a weave, you can take really fine sections. With a zigzag, you can see that I took pretty thick sections. Also, when you're counting the zigzags, you know that's gonna be nice and cohesive on the opposite side, so you have a balanced contrast of a high and a low. And now I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna have a little bit of tension, and I'm gonna tease a little bit more towards the back. And then as I move my way up, I'm gonna tease slightly less. Now remember, just like the bottom section, always go slightly higher towards the front center of the hair and a little bit lower with your developer to create that shadow root effect without having to rely on a shadow root. We always want more brightness around the face and more depth and dimension towards the back. I'm gonna keep moving my way up and take a diagonal back section. And now I'm gonna add an extra zigzag to the hair. So now you see that we now have 4 highlights instead of 3. And you can see why the look is gonna be so high contrast, because I'm really digging in my zigzags. So I'm gonna have a pretty thick highlight all the way through. Don't forget to tease. Now, when you're taking thicker sections, you want to make sure that you completely saturate the highlight. So what I like to do is I like to apply the liner so it doesn't slip. And once it stays in place, I go in and I dig deep with my brush vertically towards the foil. So I make sure that everything is nice and saturated. If you lost track of how many foils you've done, just go ahead and count them so you know exactly what you're gonna do on the opposite side. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing that I just did on this side. So just to add another cool factor to this whole technique, not only is the color gonna look amazing, but the foil and the placement can look amazing as well. By simply just braiding the section and making sure that everything is aligned and away from the face, just makes it so much more cooler all the way through. And that way she has even a more amazing experience. All right, so now we're done with the front section and we're gonna start in the back. This technique is so easy. We're gonna be basically doing the same exact technique that we did in the front, but we're gonna be working towards the back. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna start on one of the sections. We're gonna take a diagonal back section, about 1 inch, and we're gonna be doing the same exact zigzag pattern. Every time we move up, we're gonna just add an extra zigzag for that nice soft blend of the color. Now you're gonna be teasing more towards the center back of the hair and less as you move towards the side of the hair, so that way the hair falls more naturally and more lower towards the back, and it's gonna not fall as low towards the front, so she has more depth and dimension towards the back and more brightness towards the front. So as you move up, you're gonna be taking, like I said, an extra zigzag. You're gonna take a diagonal back section. You're gonna zigzag, pretty deep zigzag. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna just slice that pattern and then you're gonna foil it. Be sure to tease more towards the center and less as you move your way towards the sides. So now I'm done with my 25 volume developer and I'm moving up to 30 volume developer. After you're done with one of the sides in the back, you're gonna repeat the exact same technique and pattern on the other side, but this will be your guide. So you'll be able to see where your sections were, so that way everything lays nice and cohesive and it's gonna be completely balanced. So now that I'm on my last section, I'm gonna have her lift to a level 9.5 banana yellow. And then I'm gonna show you guys a couple of my favorite formulas and tell you a little bit about lumishine and why I love it so much, so stay tuned. All right, so we have washed out Jessica and we haven't toned her at all. I wanted you guys to see that pure lift that she got. She got to a level 9, almost even 10, all thanks to Joico Defy Damage, because it gives that even lift and greater lift. And you can also see that she has that beautiful blend without having to rely on a shadow root. So now I'm gonna be talking a little bit about my favorite toners and why I'm gonna be using them. So I'm gonna be using Demi Cream Lumishine for her shadow root, and then I'm gonna be using Demi Liquid Lumishine for her mid to ends. So the difference between a Demi Cream Lumishine and a Liquid Lumishine is that the Liquid Lumishine is more sheer and it's really great for glazing and refreshing the color, where the Demi Cream is a little bit more opaque. So it's gonna give you that extra punch of color that you want, but also it is one shade deeper. So if you have grays, it will cover it from 1 through 5 completely. If you have grays from level 6 to 10, then it's gonna blend them. So there's many ways, and it's very versatile to be able to use the Demi or the Liquid, completely up to you. Also, the Demi Cream Lumishine and the Liquid Lumishine both have the Argiplex technology, which means it's a built-in bond builder, piggybacking again on the Defy Damage Pro, which is another bond builder. Then it will give the hair 2 times the shine, and it will seal in moisture and shine up to 30 washes. So let's get started with the formulation. So on Jessica, I'm gonna be using a Demi Cream Lumishine on her base because I want to have that extra punch to her color. Then I'm gonna be using a Liquid Lumishine for her mid to ends for that extra gloss and shine into the hair. It's very sheer, so it's gonna give me that softness that I want, and then it's gonna be a little bit deeper at the root. So let's get started, and I'll tell you guys about my favorite formulations. So for her Formula 1, I'm gonna be using Demi Cream Lumishine, applying it on her base in a teardrop formation, and her formula is 2 ounces of 8NWB, 1 ounce of 9NG, and half an ounce of 8NRG. So why I chose Formula 1 with a natural warm beige is because I still wanted to deepen a little bit so she has that gradual tri-color, but adding a little bit of NRG is gonna give her a little bit of that extra spice of cinnamon tone that I want for her base. So for Formula 1, I'm gonna be applying it in a teardrop formation. Reason being is because I want her to have more brightness around the face, and I want to go slightly a little bit deeper towards the back of her hair with a natural fall. So this is a teardrop formation. I'm barely gonna graze at the top of her root and then just bring that down all the way through the back. So here's a little pro tip. Whenever you get to the front, always take diagonal back sections. And that way, when you're applying the color, you're moving everything away from the face so no color gets on the skin or the face. Take diagonal back sections and make sure that you apply everything away from the face so that way nothing touches her skin. All right, so here's a pro tip. So whenever you're working around the ear, but you don't want to get color on the ear, but you want to ensure that you have even saturation, what I like to do is I like to take my comb and comb it back a little bit, and that way I can get every single little bit of piece of hair without having to make a mess, and making sure that everything is nice and clean and saturated. All right, so I am done with my Formula 1. Again, applied in a teardrop formation. That way it falls naturally to the shape of her head. And then we're gonna go to Formula 2. So for her Formula 2, I decided to use Lumishine Demi Liquid, 2 ounces of 10NWB and 2 ounces of 10NG. Why I chose this tone is because I wanted to keep that tone light, but still give it that beautiful, shiny, buttery color. And then for her Formula 3, I used Lumishine Demi Liquid as well, and I used 2 ounces of 8NG and 1 ounce of 8RR to give it that beautiful apricot tone. Now let's get started. So piggybacking to my high-low technique, I'm gonna be doing the exact same thing with my formulation. So with my Formula 2 and 3, I'm gonna uniquely choose where I want that tone to go to give me that dimension with the high and low and give me a beautiful cinnamon swirl results. And like I mentioned, I'm just gonna uniquely pick where I want my high to be and where I want my low to be. So my high is gonna be my Formula 2, which is gonna be that gorgeous golden buttery blonde. And then my low is gonna be that apricot tone to have that cinnamon swirl transformation. So as I'm working my way up, taking diagonal back sections, I'm still picking out what I want my high to be and what I want my low to be. This is gonna create contrast and infuse the two tones together to create that beautiful cinnamon swirl transformation. As you guys can see, even though I'm using more than one formula to intertwine these two colors together, there's no mess because it's very easy and fast application. So now I'm working on the other side, and I'm just gonna continue randomly selecting where I want my high and where I want my low. So once I'm done applying the color, she's gonna process for 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna wash her out and apply Defy Damage Pro Series 2. This is gonna re-strengthen and rebuild her bonds even more, and you're gonna see how shiny and healthy her results will be. All right, now I'm done, and I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. So here is my finished result with my high-low fusion foiling technique. As you guys can see, we have this high contrast dimension, yet it's so seamlessly blended. We gave you these beautiful swirls of golden and cinnamon tones. And let me turn her around so you guys can really see that color. That movement is amazing with that mod shag haircut. So it complements the color and the cut, just goes so well together. I hope you guys enjoy this technique. Thank you for watching Joico Education on Demand. See you guys later. Mwah.